this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create this cool little overlay that you can use for any of your different videos, using your different logo or whatever you want to use. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and delete everything by hitting select and all with A, and then hit X, and then delete, because we're going to bring this all back piece by piece. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create your object. In this case, I'm just using a text object. And we're going to use, and then just write whatever you want. And you can change the text by hitting tab and into edit mode, and then backspace, and then just type in like normal. And then when you're finished, hit tab again. And there you go, you have your little text logo. One more step we're going to do is, in order to make this a 3D object, we need to convert this to a mesh. So you right click, click on mesh. That's all you have to do. If you tab into it now, you'll see that it actually has geometry. And when you convert this to a mesh, you will no longer be able to actually edit the text and what it says. So you have to make sure of that. Otherwise, I would kind of create this as a template where someone could just write whatever they want, but this kind of takes some manual process. But it's pretty easy, so even a beginner can do it. So once you have this converted to a mesh, we're going to extrude this. Actually, hit A to select all again, and then hit E. And I'm going to extrude it, well, say 0.3. That should be good enough, because we're going to be using this with a plane and just kind of having it cut out. So hit tab to get back into object mode. There you go. Now you have a 3D little text object. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a plane. And this plane is going to act as sort of the template, and then we're going to have the camera zoom through it to make a cool transition to whatever footage that you're using for your channel or whatever content you're creating. So select mesh and then hit plane. And it's going to be pretty small, so then just hit S to scale, and we'll see how 10 looks. I think 10. S 10. There we go. And hit enter. So we're going to rotate this along the X by hitting R and then X, and it'll highlight, and then hit 90, so it'll do it by even amount. So we're going to do the same thing in this text object, RX90, and then we're going to kind of center it in the middle here for our camera by hitting G and then X, and just kind of line it up, eyeball. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then we're going to add a camera back in. Before we do, I'm just going to hide this so when the camera comes back, we'll see where it is easier. So hit Shift A and then add camera, and you see it adds it right here, right at the origin. And we're just going to zero out some of these values. I'm going to keep 90 in the X, 0 for Y, and then 0 for Z. So it would go right there. And for the distance, I'm going to hit, you could do it two ways. You could do it, change the location here, or hit G and then Y, and then type your amount. So negative, we'll say -10. We'll see how that looks. So now we'll bring the plane back, we'll bring the text back, and then to see how the camera, how it's actually going to look, go ahead numpad 0, and that brings you to the camera view. And even from within the camera view, you can move the camera back, so you can kind of line it up on the fly. So hit G, Y, and you can kind of just move your mouse up and down, and that'll go in and out. Cool, so that looks pretty good. And likewise, from this view, you can also move the text object around to get it positioned correctly. So move it down maybe a little bit. GX, move it over a little bit more. Cool, there we go. So that's pretty much centered correctly, and then we're going to move this back a little bit so it actually can intersect with this plane, and we don't have to do much. So you can see where it starts to do it there. Okay, move around, so that should be good. Just to confirm one more time, go back to the camera view. Cool, that should be good. So now, in order to make this sort of a template, a cutout, so this plane is going to act as a mask, the camera is going to zoom in, and that will be the transition to your footage. And you can put this right over any of your footage that you're using for your videos. So in order to do that, we're going to click the plane because we're going to have to do an operation to that. So we're going to do a modifier and then select the Boolean. The object is going to be the text object, And initially I had some issues with this prior, so you want to select fast, and you see how it all of a sudden popped up and highlighted there. And now if we hide the text object, we see that we have our text as sort of cut out on this plane. And then, in order to see how it's going to look, we're going to zoom the camera in. So now you can select the camera from up here, and now you see it's highlighted around this box. So I want to see how it looks when we zoom it in. So hit G, Y, and then as you see, it kind of goes through like that. That's fine. And then we're going to go ahead and hit this, bring this text object back, and then move that just a little bit so it looks kind of realistic, like we're not going through the hidden part, we're actually going through the part that's going to be visible here in a second. So go ahead, hit the camera, G, Y, we'll do it again. So yeah, it'll go straight through, and that's what we want. Cool. Alright. So we'll get out of the camera view. And what's also cool too, where we're kind of moving the camera around just to kind of see how it's going to look, the locations here, so you can also enter it. As you can see, it's a very long number there. So if you want to have a little more precision, you could say -13, and it moved it back just a hair. So we'll see what that looks like. That looks pretty good, centered, and we confirm that when it goes in, it's going to be aligned correctly with an open part of this mask. So we're almost done. We can go ahead and hit this text object, hide it again, and that's what it's going to look like. More importantly, we're going to render this out in a second. We have to disable this here too, which is this little camera icon. We're going to deselect that. So we're going to do a couple more things to the plane here. We want to have this, I'll say black. I'm going to go ahead and try to assign a new material to it. You can click up here, and this is going to take you into the rendered view, so you can actually see what it's going to look like. So as you can see, now it's black. That's what we want. Looks pretty cool. So a couple more settings, and then we're almost done here. So in here, the output, right here at the very top on the right hand side, we're going to go to film. We're going to select transparent. Before we do that though, we got to animate this camera. So in order to do that, we can animate it by just hitting, we're going to use keyframes. So right here, this is its initial position, and with the camera selected, hit I. That'll bring up the keyframe menu, and we're going to select rotation, location rotation. And so in order, we don't want this camera just to shoot off and zoom in. We want it to sort of ramp up a little bit. And there's a couple ways we're going to do it, and you can kind of modify this to your own liking, how you like it. But I'm going to have another keyframe here, just a couple seconds in, and I'm just going to move this slightly. So GY, we moved it back. We'll say, actually, we'll do a ½ meter. And do another keyframe there. And then we want to select where we want it to, how long we want this to be. So 1.5 seconds would be 24 frames per second, so that'd be 36. Now I want the camera going right past the text as it hits that 36th frame. So the camera selected, G, Y, and we're going to zoom in just like, it's really hard to kind of, so right there, we're going to go ahead I again because we already have, we're in the camera selected, location rotation, and we'll go a couple frames more. So 36, 39, and then we'll hit G, Y, we'll do another 0.5 meters, and that'll bring us through to the other side. We'll see how that looks. Go ahead, I, enter, location rotation, so we'll see how this looks. Pretty cool. So we're going to shorten this up, this clip. We're going to do 39 because that's how long our little clip is. So now we'll go back here to the, we'll throw a motion blur in there too, that usually helps. So we got transparent. Now we're going to go here to the output. And we're going to have to change a couple things here because there's only one format that allows to have a transparent background, even though we selected it in the render properties. So let's see. Alright, so here in coding, we're going to change from Retroska to QuickTime. And the video codec, we're also going to do Qt QuickTime. And I think that should be about it. And we can go here to see how it looks. So as you can see, alright, so I think everything should be good to go, and we'll be able to see in a second if we were correct. So we got FFmpeg. One more thing, sorry, I just caught it. We need to have this RGB selected A. And that A, that alpha channel, is what's going to allow us to have a transparent background. So now I think we should be good. We can go to the render property, and there we go. That looks correct. As you can see, it has that checkered background. And now we should be good. And you just got to make sure in this here, you have to select the output. This is going to be the folder where it's going to be rendered to. So go ahead and choose wherever. And then we're all done. Go ahead, render animation. It should be pretty simple, shouldn't take too long. And I'll pause it there and we'll come back when we're done. Shouldn't be too long, only a few more seconds. And then I'll go ahead and I'll put this little image overlay in the software that I use, and I'll go ahead and put it at the start of the video. So that's what you probably saw when you first clicked on it. So hopefully this was helpful, and it kind of gives you some ideas and inspiration of different things that you can do for your YouTube channel or whatever content you're creating. So if you enjoyed it, go hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.